Good afternoon, everyone. Can I hear a cheer? Is everyone sleeping, awake? Should we get some coffee or tea inside? Actually, there's too much light on my face, so I can't even see most of the people there. I can see a dark room. But that's fine, to the extent that you guys can see me. All right, for the ones who don't know me, I am Monica Pirgal. I am the CEO at Bhartiya Converge. What does Bhartiya Converge do? We are a platform where we get GCCs to set up, scale, and transform in India. And Samir challenged me to speak about what is the future of GCCs. What does 2030 for GCCs look like? We are all hearing great stories. We are all hearing great numbers. So many GCCs are going to come into India and whatnot. But let's rewind. Let's look at 30 years back. At that point in time, our societal structure was different. Finance structure was different. Our geopolitical structure was different, right? India was not treated as a threat. From a societal standpoint, we had a lot of talent, but not very aspirational talent, so to say. These were people who were okay with just having employment. Forget about having a purpose-driven employment. And then from a finance standpoint, we were bringing cost arbitrage. We were bringing cheap labor on the global stage. And that set the context for a lot of these global organizations to come into India. And then we saw that entire runway for the past 30 years where GCCs started coming in and setting up their centers in India. That was the context. Now, fast forward to 2025, 1900 GCCs, a lot of mature talent, government support, better infrastructure, great startup ecosystem, blah, blah, blah. A lot of things have changed for the better, and that is where we are seeing a lot of GCCs now being set up in India. We have reached the top globally in terms of being the center for GCCs. The world looks at India when they want to set up a GCC, right? But we have reached the top. But you know what's more difficult than reaching the top? The more difficult part than reaching the top is to stay on the top. And that is a challenge we have today. 2030, can we still stay on the top? Can we still do everything right to attract those additional 600 GCCs that, the stats are thrown out on the internet? By 2030, we are going to have 2,500 GCCs. You think those 600 GCCs will just come if we don't do anything at all? If we just continue to be the way we are? And I want to bring my perspective here that these 600 will come. There's no doubt. But there are certain tweaks that we have to make as a country, as an industry, as a society. And we have to do that consciously. If we don't do that, what's going to happen? Your Polands of the world, Philippines, Mexico, Malaysia, Vietnam, Ireland, they're all going to go past us. We'll just be sitting in the stand and looking at these countries, walking away with the trophies. Isn't it? What are some of the derailers that I am seeing in the GCC industry today that may kind of, waver our top position? Few of the things that I want to name here is, whatever said and done, cost arbitrage is something that plays on the mind of the global leaders. And I'm saying this out of my own experience. I'd love to say that, cost is out of the window, talent arbitrage, innovation arbitrage, transformation arbitrage, all those are great words to say. But let's talk to a client and say, you have to pay 1.5x and set up a GCC here, and I'm going to give you this amazing talent. You think the client will sit on the table? Let me tell you, the answer is no. People may not like to hear this, but we have to fix our cost arbitrage issue. And how do we do that? Let's look at tier 2, tier 3 cities so that the talent is diversified, it is spread out, so there's not much burden on the tier 1 cities. The tier 1 cities bring great talent on the table, but that's the leadership talent. Let's use them for that. Tier 2, tier 3 can still do a lot of non-leadership kind of roles, right? So that's a derailer which needs to be fixed. The second derailer, government policies. We need government support, right? Single window clearances. We need a national GCC advisory council. We need some state level GCC policies. If the government is not looking at it intentionally to say this industry has to grow, then we are all only going to do a lot of jugaad, make things happen. But the service providers, the private sectors can do everything that they have to do. But without government support, we will only be stories in the book. So we need the government policies to be aligned. The most favorite topic, infrastructure. Let's be conscious about our dilapidating infrastructure in many of the tier 1 cities, right? If we don't fix that, again, it's a story that is lost. Our kids may be talking in history that we had so many GCCs and now we don't. However good the climate or the weather is, GCCs won't come. You have to fix the infrastructure, and that is a no-brainer. So we have to really stick to the infrastructure and work on that. The topic is also about, are we going to be more glorified outsourcing centers? Let me tell you, outsourcing and GCCs are coexisting. They cannot exist without each other. In fact, as a GCC practitioner or as GCC leaders in the room, we have to ask ourselves and our global leaders what to outsource, when to outsource, how much to outsource. But the question remains, there will be some amount of outsourcing. Because if you try to bring everything in-house, then it's a zero-sum dynamic that you're bringing, right? You're just eating into each other's profits. The story is not about a GCC versus outsourcing. It is an India story. Whether the work comes to an outsourcing partner or to the GCC, at the end of the day, the Indian economy has to thrive. And that's a mindset change we need to bring. I'm not saying that. We are competing within each other. And that is a derailer too. Yeah, of course, the startup collaborations. I was at IIT Kanpur a couple of months back, and I saw some brilliant ideas and startups coming up there. The problem statement for an IIT was, we don't have access to industry, right? And the industry told them that your curriculum is not aligned and not employment ready. So that collaboration is missing. So we have to come together as an ecosystem, leverage startup, leverage the academia, leverage the research institute. So these are some of the derailers. If we don't fix this, what's going to happen? It'll be like a freshly painted floppy disk, and we are going to call it a cloud storage. We have to really innovate. We don't have to just kind of, put the right packaging and say we are innovating and we are transforming and stuff like that. We don't want to internally be a floppy disk. We have to truly be a cloud storage. Now, having said that, what's the future of the GCC? Is it here to stay? The answer is yes, right? What are some of the trends that I'm seeing? We are definitely seeing micro and nano GCCs coming into India. The big ones, of course, have come and they'll continue to come. They don't need enablers like us and they'll figure things out. But what we are seeing, which is very, very, heartening, is the micro and the smaller GCCs, anywhere between 500 million to 10 billion kind of size GCCs wanting to set up their centers here. They need that strength in their business, but they don't have the entire depth and the muscle to set up their own GCC. So they want to come here, use enablers like us, and set it up. What we are also seeing is some COEs and very specific functions setting up in India. You may not have a full-fledged GCC, but going deep and setting up your COEs is a trend that we are seeing, and that will continue to stay. Not just your US and UK, but the non-English speaking countries also are coming to India, your Germanys and Japan of the worlds, wanting to set up the GCCs. And how can any session be complete without mentioning the word AI? AI is a trend that we see. But my take on AI is like your new joinee in the office. Great potential, great energy, but can you leave a new joinee to head a board meeting? Of course, the answer is no. AI is like a new joinee. You need to train, orient, onboard, handhold, put them in the right place, give them right context, and only then you will see its full potential. So we are seeing AI as a trend where all the GCCs and all the functions are incorporating AI, but it has to be done in a wise way. So that's my take on the future of the GCCs in 2013. Thank you so much.